Welcome to another incredible episode of Court-side Moms. I'm your host, Wendy Sparks. On this episode, I speak with Nicole Alexander, the mother of Canadian-born Nickeil Alexander-Walker of the New Orleans Pelicans. She is also the aunt of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder. I hope you enjoy this as much as I did.
I do it naturally. I do it naturally, baby. Baby. I'm every woman.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi.
First of all, I would love to thank you for coming here to talk about Nickeil. It is so important for us as moms to get out stories about our sons and their journeys and their road to, in this case, the NBA. But before we start talking about Nickeil, let's talk about you.
Well, first off, thank you for having me. I'm here because my son is in the NBA finally, and rightfully. And so it's great to be able to share my experience. I guess getting to know me is kind of getting to know where it started from the basis of where Nickeil started as a young child. So I'm a single mom. I'm a working woman, still work up to now. But I think where the common thread it lies is we have children who have done exceptional things and they've attained the goal, such as reaching to the NBA. And so I guess what I am really is a mother that's extremely proud and ecstatic to be able to share in all his goals thus far and what he's achieved. And so pretty much I'm just a mother now, just trying to navigate the NBA as a rookie. I have a nephew who's a second year and pretty much doing well in that as well. So it's just trying to understand the other end of it now and how it works as a mother and how I ensure that he keeps his, there's longevity and how successful he will continue to be. That's how I am now. I'm a mother now who's trying to make sure her son goes to the next level.
Are you involved a lot with his career?
To a certain extent, in terms of I have a hand in his finance in terms of understanding. I work well with his agents as well as his financial people to see what's being done on the back end. I'm not solely responsible for it, but I have a line of sight. So on that aspect, I can understand it. I'm opened up to getting information about it. So I have some information as to what's going on. I'm still very vocal with his agents in terms of where he's going and what he can do. And they're playing a big part in contributing to that. So, yeah, I still have that hand, but it changes roles from when when you're young and then you're in the gym and you're screaming your head off and you're getting kicked out. And now I'm just a parent who looks at it as the business side as well as how to ensure his career is taking off to the next level that it should be. So it's just changed hands now. It's just a different view I look at it.
Let's talk about when he started to play basketball. I was watching an interview and he had said, it started when I was 2 because my mom bought me a Fisher-Price basketball and net.
That Fisher-Price basketball I had for years after, years. And I'll tell you, and it did literally start there because I lived in an apartment. Pretty much most of Nickeil's years I've lived in an apartment, and we had this net, and it was transferable with the height. You can bring it up and down. And I remember, because I play basketball, so I said to myself, I have a child. They're playing basketball, whether they like it or not. They're being introduced to basketball. So I had this net, and I made sure he was shooting around on it. And he's an only child at that point. And so he was in the apartment, and he's always playing with that ball, left, right, early. And so it kind of was introduced to him. So I could say, yes, I introduced it, but he gravitated to it. So, and not everybody does. So, and it was really, I love that we both shared, and he continued with it. So it was great to see, actually.
Good for you, Mom, for setting that tone.
I'm telling you.
So it all started with you.
Yeah,
So,
I'd love to take the credit, but both me and my brother were very active in ensuring our children were going to play, and we had them playing early, so it was great.
what was his first team that he played on?
Oh, wow. He played, his first team was SBA, Scarborough Basketball Association, and that was just due to proximity because we lived in the area.
Right.
At that point, you know, he was just first rep team, started out, and then they were branching off, the coach at that point, and they were going into another avenue, and they were creating a new league and a new team. And so we decided to follow them the second year. So he went to Yace, then he switched year. Then we moved around, and I'm sure a lot of people who know us have known, we used to switch teams on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So we weren't new to teams, to switching teams. But it was great because it allowed Nickeil to understand what the importance of the sport was to him and what it needed to do to get him better. So, I think that's pretty much how we started out, playing in that circuit in Toronto. And then, you know, it grew as basketball in Toronto grew. And a lot of more options came available that it wasn't always available when I was younger. And now we're at a hotbed of basketball talent. So it's kind of interesting to see where it started and where it's going. So, but it all started out with those smaller teams, and we give homage to them because, again, that's the avenue we first had available, and at least there was an avenue. So,
Well, it's great that or at the time when he was growing up, you knew about basketball. So I understand when you're saying about switching teams because sometimes you recognize your son's talent and you're like, hold on a second, this team is great. However, my son has a different talent. He's a little bit higher and he needs to go. Right.
And it's funny you say that because as parents, you know, your child picks up the sport, you're happy because they need to be active. It becomes an entirely different thing when your child's actually good at the sport, because then you look at it in a different lens, right? So what are they doing to ensure they hone that talent they have? Right. What are they doing to get better? Can they take it to the next level? And then, no, when you're young, you don't look at it like, oh, they're going to go to the NBA right away. But if you see something in your child and you can understand that they understand the sport they're playing on a different level, the onus is on the parent to ensure you get them
Absolutely
the tools they need to better their career or better themselves. Just get better, because when you're young, that's the only thing you need to worry about. So, and it's been interesting, to say the least, trying to get him better and along that road and that journey. I mean, and it's not always a popular road. You'll be criticized. You'll be told that, you know, you only want your child to shine, or you think your child's better than he is. And it's really a dialogue with you and your child to determine what do they believe they can do. And looking at your child realistically and understanding what is their talent, what is their weakness, where do they need to get better. And I think once you do that, you're okay. Even if you don't understand the sport, at certain level, should be or could be assistance that you can get if you don't understand it. My brother was a great support in terms of us understanding the sport, what he needs to do, what basketball means, and what it should be and how it should be played. So I think with that, it kind of contributed to what we were looking for Nickeil in his schooling and his and every aspect of basketball, pretty much.
Well, it's good that you had that, because a lot of moms or even dads just don't know.
Don't have that support.
They have absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
Some of them are not even familiar with the sport.
Not
Their
even
child just
familiar.
plays it in the community, and it's just bouncing the ball and an activity, not realizing that this activity can turn into a career.
Right.
So I think as a parent, investing in your child, to come home and say, listen, I love basketball, and this is what I want to do. And if there's a way that you can grow them, then you just have to grow your children.
Right.
For me anyway, I just think it's so important as a parent.
And Wendy, it's a valid point you make, and it's very true. And it's an honest appreciation for your child. everybody has goals, and they should. Every child should grow up with some kind of aspiration. That's how you get through. That's how you begin to set expectations for yourselves and goals. But on the other hand, you have to be able to have an honest conversation as your child's talent. And if you get assessment from third parties, people of knowledge, people within the industry, and you understand what the child's abilities are, and they are agreeing with you, it's now a case of just making sure you go forward from there and doing whatever you need to do as a parent to ensure you his system and help them any way you can.
So now he's playing ball and you're recognizing that he has this talent. What do you do as a mom? How do you treat him? Do you treat him differently? Do you make him concentrate? Do you, like, you know what I mean? Are you more lenient with him? Are you?
Well, Nickeil went away to school very early, like grade 9. He went away and he left home, and that was a decision in itself that was like hard for me because I know I had my preconceived notion of, you're staying in Canada until you need to go away. And, and it was an honest conversation with my son and him telling me, I can only get best. I play against the best. And that doesn't knock any talent that's here in Canada. Some of the best talent we've had has been years ago in Canada. We just didn't have the opportunities that they did then. But quite frankly, the United States was where it was for basketball in terms of notoriety, best school options, etc. And the NBA itself. It was housed initially in the United States. So understanding that, and my son from very early knowing that that's what he needs to be recognized there, was really important, because that's allowed me now to open up and say, okay, yes, you can go to school away from home. And as a parent, there's pitfalls with going to school away. Not every prep school is as reputable as it should be. Right. Not every opportunity in the United States is going to be the best. So that's navigating and understanding what is going to be better for your child. And that's a learning game as well. So I'm not saying that going away was the best thing, but for Nickeil, going away was where he got recognized. Going away was where he got ranked ESPN. Going away is where his opportunities for different scholarships came. And it proved beneficial for him in terms of his development, because we saw a significant change in terms of his playing, his skill level, everything.
So how was what was your process in choosing a school? Like, how did you say, okay, I want to make sure that Nickeil goes to the right school, but there's obviously a process.
Right.
So what was Nikki's process?
Well, I can tell you for myself. And then remember, I was a new mother coming into this situation, very brand new. I never had a child in the NBA, never had a child that was a prospect. My nephew was going through the same thing, but he was the same age. So it's pretty new to all of it. Looking back, my first thing was the best opportunity in terms of what was this school going to give him in terms of academics. How credible would he be able to walk out with a degree of some significance? And I think initially that's what my whole thing was. MBA was a dream, and it was something that, he could do it. But I think when you get an opportunity to get free education, a parent's goal is to ensure that your child walks away with a degree out of that Ivy League school or whatever institution it is, and it's a free education. You just want to make sure that they capitalize on that. So I think my goal was looking at it as what school would be recognized on an academic level, and then have a great team that you can contribute to. Looking back, I think was idealistic. In reality now, what I would tell a parent going in is you need to look at it in terms of your son's talent level and his ability. If you know your son's a prospect and could potentially play in the NBA, he needs to have visibility, because NBA and high school, college, the collegiate level, it's all about putting them in a position to get a better exposure, to even go better themselves. It increases higher ranking in ESPN. Better schools give you better options in terms of how well you get drafted. So looking back, I think what I would do is focus on making sure that he had as much exposure for the player he is, so that whatever school he went to would have resulted in other exposures that come a little easier if you're higher ranked. And I think that's what was the major thing I would change if I look back.
Yeah. A lot of parents don't know
Yeah.
how to choose schools.
Exactly.
Some of them choose it on, well, I have a relative that
Yeah.
lives about an hour away, or
Right.
I want
Right.
my son to be about 4 hours so
Or
I
my-
can drive.
Oh, my son's in Miami. It's beautiful in
yeah,
Miami.
and I'm like, really? And I'm like,
Um,
it's not about you. It's
right.
about it's about
and
his
then,
talent.
and it is beautiful in Miami. Let's
is.
not lie. But but and it's true. These are the decisions you're making when you're not privy to all the
Right.
other avenues in getting to be a high ranking basketball player. And a lot of parents won't understand that, especially mothers.
Yes.
Because just by the nature.
Yes.
You don't have that many mothers who have been exposed to basketball on a high level. So I think going forward, that is something I always would want to do, to be able to try and educate young mothers, not even young, old as well, on how you go about picking a school, because that is so important in terms of your child's longevity, even further on. And you'd be surprised how much it contributes to
Well, it starts
their career.
everything.
It starts everything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If it starts bad, it's kind of hard
And
to...
it's a hop way. And then, something bad doesn't necessarily can't turn around. That's a good thing about life. Like basketball, it's one ball away, and then you may lose. The next game's always around the corner. But you want to put your child in a situation where they're at their best.
Yeah.
And looking back, I think that's where I would look at. Choosing a school, there's a lot of different factors. And a lot of parents as a whole don't have that knowledge. And I would love to give mine. And I'm still learning, because now I'm at it at a different aspect. So I'm learning how to navigate through that. And I'm hoping with the wealth of knowledge I've obtained, I'd be able to say, this is what you do, or this is what you should look at. And not everything will be a one fit for everybody. But if you're armed with the information, I believe you'd be that much more successful.
So Nickeil went to Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
He played 2 seasons.
2 seasons.
Then he decided to declare. Mm-hmm. What was that like?
Well, I'll tell you what. His first season, there were talks about him declaring, and then it didn't go the exact way we wanted it to go. So he wasn't going to declare his first year, and then and my thoughts were, he's at this point 18, 19. Do I want my son to have to career all of a sudden and have this big responsibility where you have to be making money?
Yeah.
It's not fun anymore. No. It's not just winning and making
real.
sure. Yeah, it's real. And so at first I remember his first year saying, well, I don't believe you're ready. I think you should be older. And then I understanding the nature of the NBA, it's like, you get your opportunity, you take it.
Yeah.
If they want you, you kind of have to go. With that being said, we had a lot more to prove their second year coming back, and which he did for the most part. And when he did what he did the second year, and we went pretty far in March Madness. We didn't go as far as we would have, we'd loved, but he did pretty good. And I think at that point I felt at ease, thinking he was ready for the next level. He understood what it entailed. He's been through challenges that would set him up in a situation where that if he faced them in the NBA, he'd be better able to handle it. So I think that was great. I was ready at that point, and it was a conversation he had with us, and he made his decision, because it's his decision at the end of the day.
Right.
I don't pick his teams. I don't kick him off the school team anymore. Now it's a case of just discussing it with him and seeing and giving my honest feedback, and quite frankly, we were ready for the decision, all of us as a family. So it was exciting. It was interesting, because I all had my favorites, where I wanted to go, where I wanted to play, and that's out of your hands to a certain extent.
It was so irrelevant.
You know what I mean? I want to be in Miami, and but it's been great. And you got chosen by New Orleans Pelicans, which is a great organization. The team is up and coming. Great pieces to potentially go further with in terms of a team aspect. They have a lot of upside, so it was great in that sense. And now it's just understanding his life as a rookie now.
So before we get to the Pelicans, let's go back a little bit.
Sure.
Draft night.
Draft night. Oh, that's
Yes,
always fun.
yes. Let's talk about
I don't know if I
draft night.
remember it. I was drinking.
Well-
I don't know. But yeah.
Well,
no.
he wasn't drafted to the Pelicans.
No, he was
so
not.
let's talk about where he was drafted to. And I understand there was trades that came
Yep.
shortly after.
Yep.
So let's just walk through
Right.
that a bit.
Right. So, draft night, you're sitting there and, we're on the floor because we were privileged enough to be one of the ones considered to be first round. So, we're on the floor and, you're sitting next to RJ Barrett. You're sitting, the Zion's behind you and, you have your table and I'm with my son. And then you're thinking about, well, really, he should be number 3. But,
that the parents'
realistically.
perspective?
Parents' perspective.
Ah, okay.
Oh, God. But, you're just happy you're there. And then you're thinking about the possibilities realistically of where he can go. And you're sitting there and you just want him to go to the best opportunity. And Brooklyn is the next pick because at this point, we've been there and it was pick 16 coming up and then 17. And we're being told, looks like Nickeil may go to the Brooklyn Nets and eventually be traded. But at first, the fan base in Brooklyn and New York, which is where the draft was, they didn't know that. They just wanted the best player they wanted for Brooklyn. And I'm thinking, they're not going to boo my son because they boo my son. It's not going to go as nice as I like it to go. You know what I mean? So you're thinking, oh, no, I don't, and pleasantly surprised, they cheered. And I was like, oh, yeah, they loved it. So it was great. To see that, because I'm thinking maybe they don't know him as well. He's Canadian. He wasn't as high visibility as some of the other Canadians coming in. So it was like, oh, maybe they don't know him. But it was great to see the applause. It's great to see one child afterwards asking him to sign a ball and throw it down. And it was really a surreal experience, and it's someone you never forget, one you'll always treasure. And that's really where it all starts, right? So I'm glad God has graced me with the ability to see that on 2 levels, with one with my son, the other with my nephew, and that's rare in itself. So it's been a beautiful experience. So I can't say anything about that. Sitting there on that floor and seeing my son get drafted was one of the big things in my life that I'll always speak about. And it's one of the privileges any parent should feel.
Let's just talk real quick about your nephew. So your nephew is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander,
That's correct.
and he plays for OKC.
Yes, now he plays for OKC. He was initially drafted 2018
Yep.
by the Clippers, played for the Clippers,
Yep.
and then he got in that trade with Westbrook and then Paul George going over to LA. He got traded in there, and he's now been OKC, and quite frankly, killing the league right now. He's proving to many, and a lot of doubters were in the beginning with my nephew as well. So it's a beautiful thing to see, because this is a little boy I've known since before he was born, and he's played with Nickeil. He grew up with Nickeil. He went to school with Nickeil. It's Nickeil's best friend. So it's quite frankly, it's like an extension of myself. So,
But what is it like seeing them play against each other now at this level?
well, it's interesting because, me and my brother will watch a game and he's cheering for his son and
Yeah.
I'm cheering for mine. And both of us are actually cheering for each other. So
Of course.
Shea will do something great. And if he's playing against Nickeil, he's going to cheer for Nickeil. I'm going to cheer for, that's a good play, Shea. And you know what I mean? So it's a healthy rivalry. It's nothing where you go, all it does is now it's like, if you think Shea can do that, watch what Nickeil can do. So
you have that sibling rivalry there.
It's never been like, they used to play scrap it out against each other, and they always wanted to win, and I think it's healthy, and it doesn't take away with how much love my son has for his nephew, how much love my nephew has for my son. You would see it, and it doesn't change the dynamic of their relationship. It just makes them want to do better. And I think Shea's success is just more incitement for Nickeil. And it just, to me, shows you what we've always known, that these kids can do it and they will do it, and it's just putting them in a situation where they can best thrive. And Shay's in one right now.
I was watching an interview with Nickeil, and I just thought he's just so sweet and he was so loving.
Can you
and
believe
he
that's
said,
my son?
"Yeah."
Yeah. People get it. They shocked all the time.
And one of the questions he was asked was, "What does playing basketball mean to you?"
Mm-hmm.
And his answer was, "Basketball for me is a way for me to get my mom away from the neighborhood I grew up." How does that make you feel?
Nickeil has been one of those children anyway, that always want to give back. He's always respectful. He's always thinking of what I can do for you now. And he hasn't even achieved all he can yet. Yeah. And he's still thinking of, well, no, I'm going to do this for you, and I'm going to do that for you. And it shows me that, I've made mistakes along the way. Basketball, out of life, in life, whatever.
You're human.
But one thing I can say is the values that instilled in my son have manifested itself beyond my understanding. And it's great to see that he's such a caring and giving child. I remember him being in Virginia Tech and calling me up and saying, "Mom, I need you to go and get my high school jersey from Toronto, and I need you to mail it somewhere." And I said, "Okay, where am I mailing it?" And somewhere else. And I'm like, try and get it there right away. I'm like, I'm paying all these fees to mail these. Where am I mailing this jersey? And he said, "You know what? Some child reached out to him on Instagram and said, I'd love your jersey, and I love you as a player, and I'd love to have it." And my son, without me provocating him, without me having to incite him, took it upon himself to say, "You know what? I'm going to send you this." And I think beyond basketball, to know that he has that type of personality, it's a beautiful thing, because the better and bigger and more notoriety he gets is only going to help others.
Of course.
So it's great to see, and he's doing it for me, but I'm doing this for him. So he's giving me everything back because of how he's able to act as a human being, as a young man. So I there's not much I can say. I'm just proud. I mean, some people would be shocked to see he's so calm compared to me.
I just thought it was such a great answer because he put you first. And I just thought that was so beautiful. Like, I literally had to pause and I was looking at the screen and I'm like, what an amazing answer. So good for him.
He's a sweetheart. Above anything else, he's a great player and a great person.
So tell me, what kind of food did he grow up eating?
Well, I'm saying, we have a West Indian background. So, he's very big on West Indian food, oxtail, corico, people who know will know. But from very young, I took him to restaurants because I love food, wine, anything where you get out and go about. I've always been about that. So while he grew up with that foundation, with the oxtail, corico, and that's pretty much West Indian, which is my background, he had a love for trying anything else. So, and I think I instill that in him. I do believe so, because he'll try anything. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, he'll love lasagna. He'll love Italian. He loves Greek. He loves Mediterranean. And where some people are just set in their way and they only eat a certain type of thing. He'll try anything. So I think, his grounding and his base was West Indian, but he's branched out now. So he pretty much eats everything now.
Well, now that he's in New Orleans, does he get that good Caribbean cooking?
It's funny. I went down there. No, he doesn't.
That's why I brought it up.
I can't say he does. No, he does not.
Cajun is not the same.
It is not the same. But, it's great because, I tried alligator for the first time when, going down to New Orleans. And
no, I'm not eating alligator. No, that'll
have to be surprised.
That'll be a belt. Nope.
Oh my goodness, it's like chicken. I was shocked myself. If they didn't tell me, I would have been like, wow.
That'll be some shoes for me. No.
But it was great. It does expose him, and there's great places in New Orleans. Like, my son lives not far from the French Quarter, so it's great in terms of the history and being able to see it, and it's really nice.
Let's talk about social media. That's great avenue or bad avenue that is out there for all to see.
Yes.
Tell me, Do you ever read any comments that people have about Nickeil?
All the time. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to stand here and say here that I don't care what they say. I do.
Yeah.
Because it's your child at the end of the day.
Of course.
And you're having a criticism about my child, right or wrong. It's a criticism, right? To some extent. And to some extent, it's great. So I look at the great things and I love him. And I look at the bad things and I want to know who that person is, right? So it's interesting because my relationship with social media has changed since my son is now in this kind of visibility.
Right.
Before Nickeil started out, he was like maybe 3,000. Now he's up to 100,000, and my nephew's at 300, and now they're certified and they had the little signature. So you look at things a little differently at that point, and you wondered, okay, so what are they saying? They better be all great comments because this is a great person they're looking at right here. So and you realize you're not going to always hear what you want to hear, and that's the nature of social media. So what I had to learn is to take everything with a grain of salt. I was very, very prevalent in the role I played with my son in terms of his visibility on social media. Nickeil isn't allowed to have social media like everybody else right away. I didn't want him with Facebook right away. He had it relatively later in compared to some kids who are doing it very young now. And it's because of the way our society is. Nickeil wasn't exposed to that very early. He was allowed to do it later. And then when he was on it, I monitored it. Because I'm a firm believer about how you perceive yourself in public and how and what voice you're giving and what are you saying and what are you putting out there. So I want to ensure, and I was governing over it and I didn't have much to look over because Nickeil wasn't the child who's going to go out and swear up a storm on Instagram or Twitter or any other platform. So I didn't have to worry that much, but I did watch it a lot. And, rap songs that, where lyrics were questionable were not supposed to be up on my son's Twitter page or his handles or, you know what I mean? Like, I was very strongly believe that that's an impression you're giving of yourself. So social media, it's great, but I have to learn too, as a relationship with it is broadened, is that it's just an avenue for people to express themselves. And some people's intention to express themselves are not always beneficial or helpful. And it's because they have their own issues and
Absolutely.
own insecurities it's learning that and just taking it and saying, we're going to prove them wrong. Or, thank you for the compliment. And it's those nice ones where somebody will go on social media and, for example, Nickeil was leaving and he was leaving Virginia Tech. He declared for the draft. And so there was a statement put up, and Twitter was ablaze with all these different opinions. And one parent, or one lady, she has a child who was autistic. And Nickeil did a seminar or a clinic in Virginia Tech, and she said she brought her child there, and he was autistic, extremely autistic, and closed and didn't really wish to interact with anybody. And Nickeil took him aside, played with him, shot around, and she said, it's the first time my son engaged and opened up. And she said, thank you for allowing your son that ability to come into my son's life and impact it. And
beautiful.
Now you're going to get me cry. I wasn't supposed to cry. But, going
Keep
back
rolling.
and going back and thinking about that, it was like, that was something I'm glad social media gave me the opportunity to see. Because I don't know this individual. I'll never probably meet her. But that experience and that comment was something that affected me. And so social media can be great. I take it for what it is at this point. I know that there's going to be critics. So when Nickeil has a bad game, there's always a critic. But when he has a great game, those people are really speaking. And I'm fair. I'm a critic, good or bad. So they're not always. So I understand that and I put it into perspective and I leave it alone. I never defend as much as it's so hard to not to,
Right.
because everybody's entitled to their opinion. And I think on the strength of it is their character of the child and the person. And if they're a good person, everybody's going to know it. There's always going to be somebody who doesn't have anything good to say.
Well, yeah, that's something that we can't prevent as much as we'd like to.
Oh,
First
my
is
goodness.
moms first.
Your first instance is to say, where does this person live? But, you know, you know,
It's true, but after a
and
while,
it's
we
been
just
like
have
that
to-
for years for me.
Yeah.
Like, I still have individuals I'd love to see where they live, but at this point, it's you know, my nature of the visibility of my child has now given me the opportunity to look back and think of things in a different perspective,
Absolutely.
and it's matured me. I mean, I'm old. You think I was a little bit more mature, and I'm acting young. But my point is, I now look at it in a different lens where you put it into perspective and you take the good from it. And that's why I gave that example, because there is the good. And there's those comments that are
course.
going to impact you. And
Yeah.
that's all that matters. And if you're
Yeah.
taking the good from it and you leave it alone, who cares? Because at one point, even LeBron, as good as the player he is getting critiqued.
Yeah.
So can you stop it? You're never going to stop it. It's going to
Look.
be a rolling train. To fight it would be useless and
It's
useless.
useless.
And you're giving credence to people who don't deserve it. So
Right.
I just leave it. And but it is interesting to watch and hate.
It is. It is. And sometimes I look myself at comments that people will say about Kim, and I just want to say something. But I'm
yeah.
like, you know what? Who cares?
Yeah.
I don't really care
Yeah.
about what that person
You-
thinks. He's entitled to think that Kim is the best player on the Magic. He's entitled to think that Kim is the worst player on the Magic. It's nor here nor there, because Kim is still on
Yeah.
the Magic team.
And it's
so
learning that.
Whatever.
And I think as parents, we can more deal with it if it's a comment about ourselves. We're ready to take that on. It's like, sure, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, and that's how it was in the early stages. It was comments about Nicole's parents or Nicole's uncle or Nicole's mom. But it's never really a comment about him. And so when it becomes now about your child, you get a defensive.
Yeah.
You're in mother mode and
Yeah.
you want to defend him. But at this point, you just put it into perspective and realize it's not even worth it.
Again, for me, social media it's about branding.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to look at Kim's his social media pages, and I'm like, or at then it was Twitter. Twitter was so like everything was
Yeah.
Twitter. There was no
Yeah.
such thing
Yeah.
as Instagram
Yeah.
or
Instagram
or
just took
Snapchat.
off.
Yeah. And I used to tell him, it's great what you're saying, but maybe you should take it off, because at the end of the day, it's your image.
Right.
And then when people would know, oh, that's Kim's mom, now I don't answer. Who cares what people think? They
Yeah.
think that my son's an awful player.
Yeah.
That's okay. Then stop watching.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or how about this? How about you keep watching? Because you're only going to see him get
Yeah.
better. I'm good with that.
And enjoy the ride.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, pretty much. And you hit me up in 2 weeks to let
I've
me
been
know
the
what you think.
same
So
way.
it doesn't matter.
I mean, some of the relationships that I even have up to now are relationship is conversation with people talking about my son. And this is back in high school. And I'd be like, whatever, don't say this. And I respond back. And then, you know, and up to these days, I can still talk to these individuals and we laugh about it.
Yeah.
And it's because I think they sense the love for our child and the need to protect them. And as we keep growing and your child continues in the NBA and mine does, it really won't matter at the end of the day. And if somebody has something to say, they're free to say it to you freely in your face. And hopefully you deal with it in a great manner.
So moving forward, June 2020, Team Canada.
Oh, yes. We took the hit for that one, didn't we?
Yes, because he wasn't there last
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
But
and then
that's understandable. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, he's new
Yeah.
to the NBA. He was a rookie, just got chosen.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of decisions made behind
Right.
that.
And you know, and it's fair. I look at it in both sides because I do look at the enthusiastic Canadian who wants Team Canada to win at no cost and want the best players there. It makes sense. And they look at hockey where all the best hockey players for Team Canada have represented it, even if they were rookies. And so it makes sense if you're looking at it on that aspect. But hockey is a different sport, and so is basketball. So, and a lot of Team Canada in hockey, where you initially got your focus in was Team Canada. So you played for Team Canada because that was an avenue to do better and go to the NHL. In basketball, playing Team Canada didn't necessarily get you further ahead in your career. It was more of an opportunity, and it's a great opportunity to be patriotic and proud of the Canadian that you are, and to represent But a lot of these players are coming in, playing as rookies, trying to understand the league that's very still Americanized. And it's a different thing when you're coming into something and to try and learn it and get started right away and give yourself 3 months of the year or even 1 month to commit to Canada and the rigors of training and getting ready for that, when you know you have to worry about other things. And then at the back of your mind is, am I going to get injured? Does that impact me? Some people may be in negotiation years with their contract, and quite frankly, that's their livelihood. Should we be putting the expectation that these children have to defend their country right away? That's debatable. I look at it at both ends. I am a Canadian, born and raised. So is my son. So is my nephew. And they've always dreamed of being able to represent their country and showcasing what it is Canadians can do.
Right.
So obviously we would love to be able to represent. And at the point when they were starting out, it wasn't that time.
Right.
But they've now made the decision on their own. And we're supporting them fully because we want Canada to win too, because we're Canadians too and we love our country. They've now decided to try and represent Canada to potentially play in Tokyo this year. And we have some of the best kids coming out. It's the first time, and I think we have an amazing coach.
Yes.
I mean, it's not the Pelicans coach, but it's a coach that I recognize, and I think he's great. And I think what these kids are going to be able to do, it's amazing. And I just hope, and I'm going to be there, that everybody embraces it, and it gives everybody the opportunity to finally get what they wanted to see. And they're going to see true Canadian talent, the future wave of the NBA in terms of what we're able to bring. Because we, right now, I believe, have the most, outside of the Americans, we have the most non-Americans in the NBA, and that's Canada. I think second is Europe. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But I think everybody's right now, it's the stage where everybody is ready to see Canada explode in this avenue. I mean, I grew up on hockey. Leafs still a team. They never win, that they still sell out tickets. So I understand when something is endeared to people, and it's so great to see that basketball has now shifted, and now it's become one of those things where everybody wants to see us do well. Yeah. So it's exciting to know that Shea and Nickeil will be representing Canada, and they're looking forward to it.
That is actually fantastic to hear that they're going to be on there. I mean, playing.
They're playing.
Nick
with
Nurse
all
is
the
a
other
fantastic coach. My son played for him last year, and he absolutely loved it. He said that it gave him an opportunity to do things that he normally does not do.
And that's good coaching.
Well, that's it.
A good coach
and he was really comfortable.
Will give you the opportunity. A good coach is frank. He'll tell you what he believes you can do.
Yes.
He'll give you the opportunity to, and then it's up to you, right?
Absolutely.
And in fairness, you're not always going to have that option to be able to do that, because am I going to put you in a role that maybe some other player who's better at it is present? Maybe not. But you'll be exposed to.
Right.
And if you are giving the person the opportunity when you have, that's something in itself.
Right.
I'm very big on recognizing good coaching because it's a rarity. And so it's good to see. It's a little knock. But it's good to see that that we put ourselves, Team Canada has put themselves in a position to be successful, and I'm looking forward to it. And I think fans will be pleasantly surprised with the outcome. I'm hoping that we are going to be in Tokyo. I'm confident that we can be. And the wealth of talent and all those who've supported before, your son, all the other Canadians or representative have put us in this position. So homage needs to be paid. And I think it's a great thing that we put these amazing young men, and I just can't wait.
The FIBA qualifiers is June 23rd to the 28th.
24th, 28th, I believe?
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken.
In Vancouver.
Yes.
So we'll be there.
Yep.
Cheering on Team Canada.
And there's
cheering
always
on our
wine in
son.
Vancouver.
It'll be great. It'll be really fun, and I really, I am looking forward to that because this will be my first time, and I believe too that our boys will be going to Tokyo and living that Olympic dream.
And you know what? And if we are successful, which I believe we will be, but if we are successful, you should take pride in the fact that your son was there from the beginning, and that's going to be even a greater victory for him.
Yeah. So. It will be. You know what? He's paying homage to his country, and that's important, right?
That's what it is. So for all those people who were upset, sent personal messages, thank you. We're now playing. And I hope you watch and cheer. That's all I can say.
This, to me, was a fantastic interview. I really thank you, Nicki.
Thank you.
You're on point. You know what's going on. You're your son's biggest fan, which is fantastic. I mean, as a mom, you would be anyway.
And I'm sure all mothers are.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
I'm sure all mothers are.
What advice would you like to leave with other moms?
That's a very good question, Wendy. I think the main thing for every mother out there, because your love for your child is undebatable. It's not going to change. Successful or not, you're going to be their biggest supporters and biggest fighters. I think the main thing is just to enjoy the moment, good or bad. Learn from it. Understand the nature of the business that they're in, and educate yourself. If you're not understanding something, there's means by which you can get the information, and ensure you reach out. And I think what you're doing here is great because it gives a platform for women. And I say mostly women because I am a mom, and this is a show for mom. But even if you're a father and don't understand, just give yourself the opportunity to go out there and find the information that you need, and then learn from it, and then better yourself as a parent, because their role will change in whatever aspect, whether you're in the G League, NBA, Europe, it doesn't matter. Their role can change at any moment, and you need to be able to understand the nature of that business and what their changing dimensions how it will impact your child. And I think once you learn that, it can only help you and your child. And all I want is all of our children to do well. I just would like every parent to go out there and educate yourself about anything they don't know. I think that's important.
Thank you so much. I look forward to our future conversations. I look forward to our games.
Wine is involved.
And I'm looking forward to us in Vancouver as we cheer on our boys first and foremost, and then cheer on Team Canada, and let's do this because it's so important.
Yes.
So thank you very much for being on Court-side
Thank you for
Moms.
having me, Wendy.
I would like to give a very special thank you to the fantastic team at National Atlantic in Halifax, Nova Scotia, for allowing Court-side Moms to record our show at their beautiful location. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Court-side Moms, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast.
Anything you want done, baby, I'm every woman. It's all in me. Anything you want done, baby, I do it naturally.